Hello everyone and welcome back to Xbox Nation. My name is Fletcher and it's that time of the week again where we take a look at the upcoming games for this week and to really see if any of them are worth your time and or money. We have quite a few notable releases which I know many of you are pretty excited for. However, it does seem pretty light in terms of Game Pass news, so we might have some surprise announcements for this week. Anyway, enough of that, let's dive right into the games coming our way for this week. First up, this isn't a full game release, but a rather huge DLC coming to my personal game of the year, and that's Kingdom Come Deliverance 2. The Legacy of the Forge DLC lands onto Xbox on the 9th of September, and it's really looking to bring a rather large opportunity for us to forge our own weapons and rejuvenate an ancient forge. Warhorse Studios are actually providing us with the necessary tools and a chance to return Gutenberg to breathe new life into an old forge. Essentially, it does surround overhauling the entire building and then acquiring some brand new knowledge that's needed to secure new blueprints and aid the local townsfolk. I'm actually really looking forward to this DLC as the crafting aspect was incredibly underrated and it was such an awesome feature of this entire game. I will have a review up of this DLC pretty shortly, so make sure you check out on our website if you are interested. Well, I really wasn't expecting a return of this next franchise, as it has been years, but then again 2025 has been full of surprises. Bubsy in the Purrfect collection lands later this week from publisher Atari and is an amalgamation of different Bubsy titles for you to dive into. Limited Run are actually joining Atari for this collection, and they've leveraged what's called their Carbon engine to basically ensure each game gets a proper shake with some nice additional quality of life features, and that's essentially to bring them up to some sort of modern day standard. There's not really much else I can really say about this one, but I know it's definitely a big nostalgia trip for many just hearing or even seeing these games. It does land this week on the 9th, and it might be worth grabbing if you're a sucker or just want to relive the pain of those Bubsy games. I do mention it all the time, but another week does mean another simulator, and guess what? Yes, we have another one coming up right now. Firefighting Simulator Ignite lands on the very same day as the previous two games I've just mentioned, but now it's dropping you onto a field as a firefighter, but powered by Unreal Engine 5. I do kind of groan at the thought of another unoptimized UE5 game, but then again, I could be wrong and it might be a pretty solid experience. As mentioned though, this one does put you in the boots of a US firefighter in a sprawling city in the American Midwest. You will be able to enjoy the rush of a firefighter in either cooperative multiplayer modes with 3 friends, or even with the help of your NPC control crew in the solo mode. This is the same team though behind the Firefighting Simulator that's currently on Xbox Game Pass, so they definitely have some knowledge of how to go about these experiences. We have certainly had quite a few karting games on our Xbox consoles over the past few years, and believe it or not, we are getting another in a series that I kind of never thought really had that much popularity. Garfield Kart 2 All You Can Drift hits Xbox this week, and Garfield and the whole crew seems to be back with some major upgrades. Of course, you'll be able to play as one of the 8 cult characters from the Garfield universe, and then you'll be able to fill up your karts, customize your look, and race away at some breakneck speeds. Like any kart racer though, you will get some unique perks and abilities and so much more per character, and each track is mentioned to be designed around that Garfield universe. I can't really see any more about this one, as it kind of is just a karting game with Garfield, so you kind of know what to expect already out the gates. Game Pass does like to give us some pretty big budget epics, but this week gives us a returning family favourite instead. PAW Patrol World lands onto Xbox Game Pass on the 10th, and it gives kids the chance to explore a lively open world as their favourite heroic pups. Whether that's soaring through the sky with Sky, racing with Chase, or rolling out with Marshall, and the game is packed with all of the light puzzles and simple missions that you do come to expect in these sort of kid-based 3D platformers. The setup though is pretty wholesome. You basically help the gang stop Mayor Humdinger's usual chaos, while then exploring some bright neighbourhoods and quirky locations. Of course, it is designed to be approachable for younger players, so it's a nice addition for the younger ones in our families. I'll no doubt give the 1000 gamer score in this one because I really can't help myself, but hey, that's kind of why I like Xbox Game Pass. Fans of psychological horror are definitely in for a paranoia-inducing ride with Karma the Dark World as it finally comes to our Xbox consoles. This one is actually a cinematic first-person thriller set in an alternate version of East Germany in 1984. The game follows a protagonist called Daniel McGovern, and you'll have to investigate a seemingly routine theft, but upon doing so, he begins uncovering some deeply unsettling secrets that do hint at a far greater conspiracy. The game looks to masterfully blend that Orwellian dystopia with psychological horror, and also draws inspiration from classics like Silent Hill and Soma. Gameplay really emphasizes that investigation, stealth, and mind-bending sequences, really forcing us to question reality itself. I know it's gotten some pretty high praise since it released elsewhere, so it might be worth diving into when it lands later this week. After the ludicrous success of games like the iconic Vampire Survivors, countless titles in that style have really popped up, and dozens of which have even arrived on our Xbox consoles. Yet another Zombie Survivors may sound somewhat familiar, and that's because the game has already landed on PC prior to its Xbox launch and has been received rather well. This game basically tasks players with creating a group of survivors, moving together, and then trying to stay alive until the end of the zombie barrage by essentially powering yourself up as you go along. It's a fairly simple premise on paper, but the game does seem to have a ton of depth out the gate, with many calling this insanely addictive, and even more so than the iconic Vampire Survivors. The developers seem to have had the creativity to create something unique, very engaging, and also balanced to essentially avoid the game becoming somewhat of a brain rot. It looks pretty great, and you can get your hands on this one as of the 10th of September when it does land into Xbox Game Preview. I really do dislike horror games, but if you're a horror fan and like all of the thrills and chills that go along with it, then Labyrinth might be your go-to for this year. This incredibly popular horror game is bringing its chilling co-op horror experience to consoles for the very first time, and the cool part is that it comes with cross-platform multiplayer for PC, PS5 and Xbox Series X and S. That means that up to 8 players can team up or even split up to essentially survive the terrifying mazes that are filled with lurking monsters and twisted puzzles. The main reason why so many love this game on PC already is due to having such a haunting atmosphere and also some very intense gameplay. Like I said, I personally won't be diving into this one, but if you're interested, it does arrive on the 11th of September and is one of those experiences that you definitely want to check out before Halloween. I guess with it being October just around the corner, it was only going to be inevitable in receiving tons of horror titles for this week. Well, this next one is called Dead Reset, and it's really looking to sort of flip the script when it comes to those traditional horror experiences. It's not often that we see interactive movie-like games with actual actors and not CGI, and I think that's why this one really does stick out so prominently on the gaming scene. If you are wondering, you're basically trapped in a terrifying death loop, and Surgeon Cole Mason is kidnapped and brought to an underwater facility, forced to operate on a patient to extract an ever-evolving parasitic horror. It sounds so bloody insane, looks fantastic, and I love sort of seeing these shake-ups of the usual horror formula. If you want to see me live stream this game on Halloween, do let me know, especially as I'm not a horror fan at all, and you'll probably see me scream more times than that can count. Of course, the largest release of this week has to be for Borderlands 4, and I for one am kind of excited for this newest entry in this franchise. For me, number 3 was a pretty big letdown in terms of its storytelling and its endgame content, but Borderlands 4 is actually now being touted as a return to form for Gearbox entirely. This time though, we're introduced to a brand new world of Chaos instead of the world of Pandora, and this is where 4 new fresh Vault Hunters come onto the scene. The story looks to tackle a new boss, which is called the Timekeeper, and the early previews have been insanely positive with the direction so far. Even the addition of even more verticality to this game, such as gliding, climbing walls, and so much more, has me really excited. I've been massively delving deeper into the gameplay and researching more, and it seems like the devs over at Gearbox have added a ton of content, improved what we disliked about Borderlands 3, and even bring in a ton of endgame stuff for us to dive into. I really cannot wait for the end of this week, and you can catch me live streaming this game, so stay tuned for this Friday. One awesome looking game that I did stumble across a few weeks back now is called Gloomy Eyes, and this one is a new self-co-op cozy horror adventure with a Tim Burton-esque and the Nightmare Before Christmas sort of artistic vibe. It actually has you playing as 2 different characters, each with their own powers and abilities, and sometimes you control both of them at the same time to solve the game's puzzles. The levels here are also handcrafted dioramas, and puzzles will have you alternating between playing as Gloomy and Nina, set to what Fishing Cactus hopes will be a memorable and unique soundtrack. It does look pretty excellent, and I really dig that art style completely. I'm actually in the process of reviewing the game at the moment, so make sure to subscribe if you're interested in a video review, or check out my brand new website if you prefer a written version. EA's latest new sports game does arrive this week in the form of NHL 26, and it's releasing surprisingly early for an NHL title. This newest entry in the series though is said to feature what EA are calling IceQ 2.0 technology, and it seems to be fueled by what they're calling NHL Edge positional data, so your favourite superstars think and move and play like their own selves. There also seems to be a ton of improvements as well, including Be a Pro mode being revamped, extra goalie systems, and so much more. Personally, I've never actually played an NHL game, so I'd kind of be keen to hear if those improvements do sound good to you down in the comments below. Of course, Xbox Game Pass Ultimate members get a lovely 10-hour free trial, so you can play it right now if you have an active subscription. Speaking of Xbox Game Pass, I've actually stumbled across a potential Game Pass edition for this week. Supermarket Simulator could join the service very soon, as a few of my friends have actually started receiving notifications from Xbox stating the following: Supermarket Simulator, now on Xbox Game Pass, and guess what? You can play it now with your friends too. We've seen Game Pass notification errors like this several times over the past couple of years, with the likes of Shadow Warrior 3 and even the Baldur's Gate 1 and 2 Enhanced Editions, and they did actually turn out to be true. So make sure you keep it out of this week, and you'll have to let me know your thoughts on this, or if you received a notification down below. What game are you excited for this week then? You'll have to let me know down below, and also like this video if you did enjoy it. Subscribe as well for more Xbox content, as I do upload every single day, and make sure to check out our brand new website with the link below. A massive shout out as well to our brand new channel members for your continued support, and if you want to join for exclusive perks, videos early, and so much more, then click that join button down below. Whilst you're here though, and if you want to check out some more Xbox content, why don't you check out the video on screen now. I recently had hands-on with Power Wash Simulator 2 in an exclusive preview, and I tell you what, there's a lot you need to know about this new Game Pass game coming to us very soon.